Hello everybody, and welcome to the final session of this strand. I'd like to introduce our final speaker this morning, Pavel Brebera. Pavel is a senior lecturer at the Language Centre at the University of Pardubice in the Czech Republic, and in his current job he focuses on teaching English for specific purposes and e-learning, and his other professional activities include providing in-service teacher training for private language schools. And today he's going to talk to us about the particular aspects of implementation of English medium instruction in the university context. Over to you, Pavel.
Thank you very much. Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm really glad that I'm here at this conference, because I thought I would not be able to make it, but now I'm here and I'm happy. And as a title of my presentation, I chose a question. Are we ready to start with EMI, which means English medium instruction? And as I was ready to prepare the presentation also for a fully virtual mode, I would visualize a lot. So when talking about expectations, worries, and considerations, I would use the particular pictures. Yes, I'm from Pardubice, so you can see it on the map, but the language center, our language center, can be characterized in terms of variety of approaches. So if you have already seen our version of the CercleS song, you can see the variety of approaches even within 90 seconds. Obviously, the variety can be observed also in the range of faculties that we teach. Mostly the technical ones, but also the Faculty of Economics and Administration. Also, we teach various target groups. So again, I will try to visualize. We teach the university students, the academic staff, and also the office staff. What is more, how we teach, we practice classroom teaching as well as fully virtual mode. But today I'm going to talk about the specific target groups that we teach from the perspective of EMI, and it means that I will focus somehow on the group of university students and academic staff. As I told you, I will approach this topic from the perspective of English medium instruction. What is that? At the very surface level, and that's logical. It's English medium instruction, the use of English to teach academic subjects. So if you think about the aims or objectives of education from the perspective of content-dominant, language-dominant objectives, EMI represents this extreme, focus on content-dominant objectives. While English is a foreign language, even for academic purposes, even specific purposes, there are more language-dominant objectives, and CLIL as content and language-integrated learning, it stands somewhere in the middle because there are dual objectives both for language and for the content. EMI is something, specific, and obviously we as the language center, we don't do it, but there is a certain role that we have in our teaching context. 2 years ago in Poznan, I talked with my colleague Jitka Hloušková about the topic towards a bilingual university, helping the university staff to develop communicative competence. And what we talked about was how we prepare long-term courses in groups for the academic staff and how effective these courses are. How we organize one-day seminars with a special focus for the academic staff. How we provide individual support or consultations. And whether it works or whether it doesn't work, where the limitations are. So we have already talked about the plan. And as I'm interested in that, and this is a part of the whole university project, I always ask the project management for the feedback. So, I received the feedback from the questionnaire, from the project management people. And it was quite optimistic because during the first semester, the question how you will use the acquired knowledge in the long-term courses, 81% of the academic staff said, well, for my teaching. Later, even more, 88%. And then during the third semester, 91%. So I thought, well, in a couple of years' time, we will have 100% admitting that they will use the knowledge for their teaching. Okay, that's optimistic. Then, fortunately, I became the member of this project as well. So I was one of the group trained in various skills, and I participated in various seminars as well, and I received the same questionnaire. So I can show you what it looks like. So the first question is how you will use the acquired knowledge, and the first one is for teaching. Yeah, so I completed the questionnaire. Then after another session, I got completely the same one. Okay, it was about motivation. Then about academic writing, I forgot to send it to the project management, so I got the reminder, and then automatically completed it for my teaching, and then it was somehow automatic. Yeah, so I don't think we can rely a lot on this kind of information, because after 15 questionnaires being sent to me, I would not think much how to answer these questions. And what was also quite interesting was that the response of some respondents was, oh well, these questionnaires are no use, well, do not distribute them anymore because they do not give you any information and they are more annoying than helpful. So as you can see, well, I doubt it. I can see very obvious limitations. So when we think about how it is all designed, it represents a kind of project-like a linear approach. So that's logical that we will start to train the teachers to be able to speak in general English, and then to move to more professional-oriented one. Finally, they'll be able to teach in an EMI way, so they will grow somehow. And also the students will benefit from this scheme more and more. Well, that's the plan, but sometimes life is different. So what I found out, not always it is done in a linear way, and I think it's good. I would like to refer to this scheme. Technique Grace many years ago suggested this kind of course design scheme, and you can see that everything is happening at the same time. It's not like first beats analysis, then formulating aims, and so on and so on. So what can happen is that English medium instruction, ESP, and CLEL can happen all at the same time, and it will depend on the teacher how confident he or she might be in his knowledge of language or teaching methodology, and also it will depend on what kind of students teacher will work with. So that's probably more realistic, and what I mainly wanted to talk about is the experience that that was planned for me for the previous semester. So I was supposed to participate in one of the courses taught together with a content specialist, and the plan was that the student would benefit from the input from the content teacher and the language teacher as well. However, it was quite surprising for me how this two-semester course was organized. So, during the first semester, the students experienced a completely EMI teaching. The teacher at the Faculty of Chemistry had lectures on specialized topics. The focus was on understanding the terminology. The study materials were defined in English. So that's what they experienced during the first semester. And during the second semester, the plan was that there will be the teacher together with me, that's me really, and the subject called English for Graphic Arts will be done in a CLEL way, which means I'll be there for language and you will be there for the content. And as you can see, this all makes sense, even though EMI is supposed to be at a higher level than CLEL, and this all makes sense. Just to give you a practical example, this is a part of the syllabus during the first semester, lectures on these particular topics from the graphic arts, and communicative tasks, language development, linked to the particular tasks planned for the following semester. As I told you, unfortunately, the subject which was planned for the second semester was not taught because of the obvious reasons. And it is really interesting to focus on how the people think about teaching in English and how they may express some worries or concerns about these two items, like symbolizing teachers and the students as well, because I'm going to talk about both groups. What is quite inspirative, I would say, from the theory of ClerL. And I think that you know these concepts because BICS and CAL, basic interpersonal communication skills, social English needed for communication, while CAL, cognitive academic language proficiency, which means the ability to like study the content of the subject in English. These are really important, they are discussed quite a lot. So I try to analyze the material that I collected both from teachers and the students from this perspective. I was really lucky that I had an opportunity to work with 15 university teachers who expressed, or during the training session, they expressed their concerns. And they might be categorized, you know, into these categories, like general methodological issues. How to involve students, of course, that's an evergreen, yeah, so it's something that the teachers always talk about and they are interested in how to make them more active. And other comments might be categorized in terms of BICS and CAL as well. So let me show you the material that I collected. This will be written on cards because we were, there was a training oriented session, so we were working with the ideas. So, as for the social English or the English used for communication, well, the handwriting is really a challenge. The opportunity to speak English and to be together with other people who speak English. That's general, that's comment related to general communication skills. This was also quite frequent, comment in the discussions. If I teach English, well, nobody corrects me and I can learn to use English grammar in the wrong way and it will go on and on and on. Of course, I want to have huge, sufficient English vocabulary knowledge. Sometimes I have a problem to understand different pronunciation. Yeah, we heard something about pronunciation in the keynote speech, yeah, which challenges it can bring. From the perspective of the most specific type of language, cognitive academic language proficiency, the people were expressing these thoughts, these ideas. I have to learn the subject-specific vocabulary to be able to teach the course, and that's a real challenge for me. I would like to explain my topics well, the range of words from my field, so they refer to their field. Or they talk directly about economics and the ability to talk about various topics, or just to transfer knowledge. So this represents a different category than the previous one. Well, of course, I collected this information from the teachers and I worked with them, and it was really interesting to to discuss these issues and to find some mutual help in this way. Then I was interested how my students perceive that. I teach mainly at the transport faculty, and I decided to have a questionnaire for master degree students whose level of English is B2. So the question ready for EMI, I thought that, well, yes is the answer. But, well, we will see. So, the key question in that questionnaire was, do you think that you are able to study one of your special subjects in English? Now I know that there is a requirement for the future students to have at least one of the subjects. At that time when I asked this question, there was still no requirement, but now I know that the situation has changed. And the results are that 62% of them said, well, no, I don't think I am ready, while 38% of them, 7 people said, well, yes. And then there were different questions for each of these categories, so that I would develop these ideas a little bit more and ask them. So students who don't feel ready, I would use the blue color for that. Why? Due to the following reasons. It's quite surprising, I don't know, yeah, this is, I would just like to comment on it, that they are worried about the terminology and technical texts, or the special text from their field, and also communication in the spoken form and in the written form. It's quite surprising for me that the written form I would expect the bar to be a bit higher than the terminology. Well, as the option was other reasons. There were also some answers, and again, I would like to categorize them in terms of basic interpersonal communication skills and cognitive academic language proficiency. So as you can see in the first column, Some people said something like, my English is not good enough for understanding or communication, so that's why I'd rather not study one of my special subjects in English, or expressing myself in Czech is difficult. And in English, you want me to do that, for professional purposes. When it comes to calm, well, the specific language, there were, comments which were really well formulated, like, for example, the first one, look, the focus is on logical and mathematical skills, and generally I think that EMI would be an additional burden for me, that it is difficult to understand the subject even in Czech. Complex knowledge of terminology and understanding the texts. Also, there were some other comments, like, compared with the secondary school. The secondary school, we have English 3 times a week. Here, we do not have so much English during our studies. So that's one of the reasons. Or somebody said, no. Here we are at the Czech University, we want to study, I want to study in Czech and not in English, not everybody is good at English, and this would be wasting waste of energy for me. So there is a variety of opinions on that, and well, I would like to thank the students for expressing their opinions, that they are really honest. Then I focused, and I will use the red color for that, on those who feel ready for English medium instruction. So I asked them about the context, and they would like to experience it. And they were allowed to take both options. That's why the sum is not 100%, because some of them decided to take both options. Oh, okay. Erasmus stay abroad is something attractive for them. They would like to study the subjects in English during the Erasmus stay. But at the University of Pardubice, why not? Let's say more than half of them said yes. Right, for the questions, questionnaire that I prepared for them, I used some theoretical basis, and I found it in the Makar's book, English Medium Instruction, where there is a categorization of various strategies for dealing with the task of being in an EMI context. It might be the knowledge of the topic, the general knowledge of the topic, knowledge of transport. This is about language. This is like the perceived difficulty of something that happens in the classroom, how fast the teacher talks, what kind of visual support he uses, and so on. So, based on that, I formulated the questions for those who claim that they feel ready for that. It's quite nice and interesting, if I observe the whole group, that mainly they would rely on their knowledge of English vocabulary, English grammar. Of course, the general knowledge, the area is what was also mentioned quite frequently. They didn't mention the content, the theory of transport so much. So they talked quite a lot about general knowledge, or the knowledge of general vocabulary. When I asked them the next question, or the next question in the questionnaire was whether they perceive benefits of this type of course, studying their subject in English. Well, learning English terminology on lectures or seminars, and also active communication with the teacher, with the lecturer, possibility of spoken interaction with my teacher during the exam is good. Yeah, I thought, fine. There are no inhibitions about that. And the perceived risk factors of these courses. They very often comment on the study literature, but they also talk about the study literature defined for the subject in Czech, so it was mentioned as well. The factors related to direct classroom teaching, eligibility of lectures, speech, speed of lectures, speech amount of material, okay, they mentioned that. And seminar paper in English, they perceive it as a risk factor. Right, so, well, two groups. Some of them who feel that they are ready, some of them who feel that they are not ready for that. Are there any differences? Because, well, when I had a look at these groups, I knew that there are some people who belong to one group, and there are some people who surprisingly belong to the other group. I would expect them somewhere else. Okay, so the columns, I tried to compare them somehow. So I looked at the scores of their placement tests, their language level, the entry language level. And also, I collected the preferences for the course, whether they want more general course or balanced course or completely ESP course. In terms of placement test, you can see the average score is 65 and 67 standard deviation. That's two big differences. My data set is not complete because some of them enrolled into the course without the placement test, but that was not a problem. But there were no differences between these groups. And in terms of the course preferences, chi-square statistics, expected frequencies, and the real frequencies, again, nothing. But I somehow felt that there are some differences, there are some specifics. And I tried to look at the individuals, and I would call them high achievers. Used green color for them, the green bars and the diagrams and the bar chart and so on. So the criteria for like labeling someone as high achiever here for this particular research was a high score in the placement test, which scores, you know, B plus and more, and excellent performance in my ESP course. So the high quality and very high language level demonstrated in the level of contributions in the Moodle forum, very high language level of their professional level-rated presentation, and their contributions in the class discussions. And I identified 4 of them in each of these groups, and I focused on them, and I somehow compared them with the rest of the group. So the students who don't feel ready for English medium instructions, if I compare those high achievers and others, I was really surprised that 100% of them said, I would not understand the terminology in English. I'm pretty sure that these are the ones who are all in the classroom, they perform as the ones who are always able to explain something. They understood the terminology, they had no problem with ESP course. So that was quite surprising. This kind of anxiety was really surprising for me, and it makes me formulate a kind of partial conclusion that the higher the level of English, the higher demands on oneself in terms of studying the subject in a foreign language. What was, on the other hand, when it comes to writing seminar papers or the piece of writing we produce, well, their anxiety is not at such a high level compared to the rest of the group who claim that they are not ready. Fine, so now let's focus on the students who claim that they are, or they feel they are ready for studying a course in a foreign language. Well, it was quite surprising that even though the group as a whole performed as the group where the focus is on relying on English language skills at the moment, those high achievers, the ones who, according to my criteria, were placed into the group of high achievers, rely quite a lot on the subject-specific knowledge. So it's good that I managed to use this criterion because this makes the people in the group different from each other. So high achievers really, let's say, or rely more on the subject-specific knowledge than the rest of the group. Perceived benefits of the course. Not so many surprises. Well, those high achievers, they didn't think that learning the terminology, like the new terminology maybe on lectures or seminars, is the top priority for them. They can learn maybe in other contexts, maybe via active spoken communication on seminars. But basically there were not so many surprising facts. And as for the perceived risk factors, well, it was also quite interesting to observe that the level of anxiety here, in case of this group, is higher than the rest of the group, and it also was expressed in case of the seminar paper in English. Fine, so some final thoughts formulated from my perspective of a language teacher, because I said that the role of the language center is to help this thing to happen, but we do not do it. We do not teach the special subjects in English. We just try to help the others, or we try to create the environment where this kind of strategy would be used on a long-term basis. Let's appreciate all the EMI efforts of the academic staff. For me, it was, I'd say, felt honored that I was asked to help that subject-specific teacher to help him in a clear way. So I would like to appreciate that, and I think that the academic staff, they are doing a great job when they try to do something like that. Subject or specific knowledge. So let's respect the fact that the students are interested in their field of specialization. I know that, well, in the debates with my colleagues, we sometimes talk about how difficult it is to understand these technical-oriented people, but I always say, let's respect that. I teach at the transport faculty. The transport people, they are willing to talk about locomotives and train sets all the time. It may sound funny, but no, let's respect that. It is their specialization, and I think me, the teachers together with them, we can enjoy it a lot. Coming to the end. Let's try to reduce the level of anxiety related to EMI, both in the group of teachers, because they feel worried. It's something they are exposed to students, they are in a new situation, but let's reduce the levels somehow. And in case of the group of students, especially in the group of potential high achievers, I think it will be worth it. I was quite surprised that the students who were in the group of those who said I don't want to study the subject in a foreign language, that these were the students who had the highest performance on my ESP courses. And generally speaking, let's have enough courage to follow this path. Yeah. Optimistic symbol, which is the sun shining here. Okay, so final comment. Let's hope one day we will know more about it. At the same time, I would like to say, even during working on this research, I just thought that the more I know, or the more I feel that I know, the less I know, because suddenly it was completely different from what I originally thought. And that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. So we have just a couple of minutes left for questions.
I have a question. You talked about reducing the level of anxiety. How?
Yeah. So that's, again, the easy question.
What are your ideas? Because you have been thinking about it, going through the process of the keynote speaker talked about maybe creating a safe place or space.
Yeah, well, it is really difficult, for me this was quite a surprising fact. I thought that the people who expressed the highest level of anxiety, as I would call it, were the ones who, in my opinion, would have no problem with going abroad. They would be real stars there. Well, maybe they have different priorities, and it's something that I just, I do not feel I can even, I can say something about it. But at the same time, it's good to talk about these possibilities. The whole university, has the concept of internationalization. It's a big word, and it's sounding every one of the buzzwords. So if we just bring this word in the classroom in a more specific way, like the concrete way, like this, and let's talk about the possibilities. However strange they may seem to them, because I think that I was the first one who asked this question here. These students, yeah? If we talk about it more, I would say repeatedly, this may become more relevant for them. That's probably something that doesn't occur to me now, but I feel it this way. Just an opinion.
Thank you.
I think there will always be a certain level of anxiety at the level of the student and an instructor.
Sure.
Especially if, well, as the name is, it's not the L1, and it's not, and in the case when it's not L1 of instructors. And equals, we're dealing with universities who are English as a medium instruction universities, who have the preparatory foundation programs. And some students are good enough, obviously, after placement tests, and they go directly to the faculties. And the low-level students, I'm talking about A1, right? They go 2 semesters, 25 hours per week, to take them from A1 to B2, with general language development plus elements of English for academic purposes. It's virtually unrealistic to get as advanced as this. So it's usually sort of B1 plus, and then they go to faculties, they get quite a lot of language support, and they still struggle. That's a reality, which really does not reflect on the quality of courses delivered by university centres. It's to do with the fact that there is no way you can actually take them within 2 semesters. They do extra programs, repeats, God knows what else. But still, it's a bit of a vicious circle. And quite often, these very young people come to university to do the prep program when they have no learning strategies. And when there's a limit how much you can absorb when you go 25 hours per week. That's another dimension of English as a medium of instruction.
A very important one.
In a slightly different context than yours.
Which context was it?
In the context of places like that there are universities which are English as a medium of instruction. No, this is Turkey, the Middle East, the Balkans.
All right. So
There's
that's
not in an English-speaking country. And you've got local students and international students where English is not their mother tongue.
I found very interesting the results. I mean, if you summarize the results very quickly, I mean, basically, even those high achievers felt that their reading skills, extensive reading skills of authentic materials, and their writing skills were not sufficient. Despite the fact that high achievers, they've been through a school system, they're level B2, right? Officially, somebody stamped them. All these standardized examinations, they're actually not ready. They feel that they're not ready to conduct, to produce, and to academic work. It's the academia. It's the fact that general English is one thing, and academic English is another. And if we look at academic English itself, it's very basic. The structures we use are very basic, very simple. Right? We don't need all this huge amount of grammar. But definitely they do need reading skills. So this is one area that language centres need to, in my opinion, go into. Developing reading skills, fast reading skills, authentic material.
Yeah.
And thereby they automatically acquire the language, the jargon needed, and of course the writing skills are again the genre, the academic genre that needs to be developed.
Yeah, it's a pity that I did only half of the work. I wanted to have first-hand experience with teaching or helping that subject, for sure as teaching the group, and I would be more focused on language. Here I was more focused on the people and their subjective perceptions. So I've only half of the picture, and I'm aware of that. That's why I was hesitating whether to come to the conference. It was a last moment decision. Okay, at least I have something to say, but I know that the big part of what I originally planned is missing, which is a pity. So next semester maybe I'll yeah, the ClerL part, because I was interested in the language performance of the students right there on the spot in the ClerL in the ClerL-like subject.
But they were all oral, I understood. They were all oral tasks, mostly.
Sorry?
They were oral tasks you planned.
Oral tasks, yeah. Well, these were oral tasks, but based on the lectures that they experienced the previous semester, and I think the teacher would refer quite a lot to the material that they've already mastered. So I thought it would be a great experience. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Is it planned for maybe next term?
Well, not the next semester, not this semester, maybe the spring semester, because that's when the subject is taught regularly. But it depends on many factors, as you know. We are from the same university.
I see. Okay, thank you very much again, Pavel, for the presentation.
Thank you.
We're going to take